Jeremy Wharton, aka Germ Warfare, aka Germ, is the fifth and final member of the main cast of Night in the Woods. He doesn't appear as frequently as Greg B. or Angus, but the developers clearly thought highly of him, as he managed to make it into the set of collector's figurines pictured here. He's also included along with the other main characters in plenty of fan art, so I think it's safe to say that we, as a community, have given him big league status as well. And with good reason, for although the role he plays in the game's narrative is subtle, it's still quite meaningful. Because in a game that features a dramatic shift from chill hangouts to detective quests, and finally confronting the cult of an eldritch deity, Germ is the guy who helps tie the story together, grounding events in backstory and providing a gateway to the greater narrative. We meet Germ on May's fourth full day back in Possum Springs, the day after the party in the woods. He was 2 years behind May in school, so he's a bit younger than her. From their conversation, it's implied that they were more acquaintances than friends, someone she knew of, but didn't know particularly well. Fortunately for us, that changes pretty quickly. From then on, Germ is present for all of the band practices, and once the food donkey area is available, May can talk to him pretty much every day. Conversations with Germ can often be quite random at first, but as the game progresses and the true narrative starts to come into focus, they become far more meaningful. In a way, you can almost feel the story of Night in the Woods coalescing along with him, as our chats with him go from all over the place to serious at the same time as the plot finds its stride. From this point forward, we see Germ in multiple settings. On the day of Harfest, we can find him hanging out with the krusties out past the food donkey, right at the edge of the game's free roam map, just a stone's throw from the woods that lead to the mines. This segment is short, but it carries a good bit of weight, and really helps to shed light on Germ's importance. Because it's during May's conversation with the krusties that she first hears about the supernatural goings-on in Possum Springs. Scams, who has some interesting theories about him on the interwebs, tells May that one of his buddies avoids Possum Springs entirely because of the presence of a ghost. Later that night, when May sees Ide kidnap someone at Harfest, she jumps to the ghost theory right away. Without Scams' story, I'm not certain that May would have gone with the ghost theory. She might have considered other options first, which is important, because it's this theory that leads to the entire second half of the game, to investigating the graveyard, Possum Jump, and the Historical Society. It's Germ, through his friendship with the krusties, who facilitates this, making him a gateway to one of the game's most important story beats. The following day, our encounter with Germ again provides the player with some important background info. First, it's during this conversation that we finally get back around to the subject of Casey Hartley. We go for several in-game days without hearing about him, but here, alongside the dramatic tonal shift, we're reminded of him, of our very first clue that something was amiss in Possum Springs. If they haven't made the connection already, this should provide players with a hint that the fates of Casey and the Harfest kid are intertwined. It's then that Germ takes all of this a step further. In what seemingly starts out as one of his strange stories, Germ reveals that someone once followed him home from the train tracks, and that he was forced to hide in a tree to evade them. There's no doubt that this was a cult member, who surely intended to take Germ off to the mines and sacrifice him to the Black Goat. Even though May doesn't know about the cult at this point, her reaction to Germ's story makes it clear that she knows it's connected to the Harfest kid. And of course, the player should too. So once again, we find Germ serving as a window to the larger narrative, to the dark secrets of Possum Springs. On day 11, right before the final stretch, May has an opportunity to hang out with Germ at his house. If you haven't seen this, I highly recommend checking it out. It was included along with the Weird Autumn update, and I've spoken to a fair few players who missed it. While there, Germ introduces May to his family, to his mom, his dad, his uncles, and most importantly, his grandma. She takes on a kind of oracle role, alluding to May's fast approaching showdown with the cult. That's interesting in its own right, but one of her statements in particular really stands out to me. Towards the end of their conversation, she says, "Can you unhaunt a haunted house?" This isn't a speculation video, so a full analysis of this quote will have to wait for another time. But just like Germ's story about getting followed home from the train tracks, there's only one possibility here, which is that Germ's grandma is referencing the last words of May's grandfather, who said, "This house is haunted," right before he died. How does Germ's grandma know about this? And what did May's grandfather mean when he said it, anyway? These are fantastic questions, all of which I plan to explore in a multi-part series about May's grandfather, so stay tuned for more on that. But for now, let's focus on it from a purely narrative perspective. What this does is bring us all the way back to the beginning of the game, to the poem that started it all, and in doing so, it exposes us to a truth that we've been building towards this entire time, that will be laid bare when May confronts the cult. That all of the supernatural events in May's life, from the last words of her grandfather, to the killer incident, to her dreams, and the kidnappings, are all tied together by the Black Goat. It's a huge revelation, one that needs some prefacing before we get there. And it's our visit with Germ's grandma, another lore-heavy segment facilitated by Germ, that helps tie this all together. At the end of the game, Germ wraps things up in a more obvious way when he helps Greg, Angus, and Bee get out of the well and escape the mines. It doesn't have the same narrative function as the lore drops, but it's similar in that it provides the story with exactly what it needs at exactly the right time. For most of the game, he does that by tying things together, by providing information, serving as the gateway to the lore and the hidden connections between the dark secrets of Possum Springs and May's past. But here, it's an act of deus ex machina that, for me, turned Germ from a cool side character to my personal favorite companion. I mean, come on. The dude shows up with a rope and a stick of dynamite right when we need him. What could be better than that? So when it comes to Germ, he is indeed from somewhere. He's from the woods, where he ventures forth to find us never too early and never too late, but exactly on time, to give May, or the player, whatever they need, right when they need it. Whether it's to tie some story beats together, a lore drop, a hint about what's to come, or making sure that a crazy murder cult can never terrorize Possum Springs ever again. As I was finishing up this video, I realized that there's some more that I'd like to say about Germ, but it's an entirely different point. Instead of examining his role in the narrative, I'll be looking at the ways in which he and May are similar, and what role that plays in May's growth. But next week, I have something very special coming your way, as I'll be doing a frame-by-frame breakdown of the Revenant Hill trailer. Before I roll out, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Wolf Godwin, who allowed me to use their fantastic piano covers of the Night in the Woods soundtrack for this video. If you haven't checked out Wolf's content yet, I implore you to do so. Wolf is a multi-talented content creator who's made everything from covers to original music and even animations for Night in the Woods. Wolf is best known for the Center of Everything, an animation series that imagines what a sequel to Night in the Woods might be like. Ironically enough, it gives Germ a pretty pivotal role. So once you're done with this video, be sure to check them out. I've included a link to Wolf's channel and the music used here in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.